Hey everyone, Glimpse here again, back with another video. Not going to talk about any of the Mage changes right away. I'm going to get into all the positives about this update because the Mage conversation is still going on right now. There's a lot of ideas going back and forth, but I think it's pretty much finalized by now, which is kind of the reason I wanted to hold off on this video. So let's get right into it. I love this mount. This is the new Patreon update we got. So Patrick and trade. If you go to the shop, you can sacrifice an Angry Bear mount, just like the snakes. And a big thanks to Pazito for giving me an extra Angry Bear mount, so I wouldn't have to mess with mine because I love this mount and I love the original one too. Also, we got some sweet bandages. This is the Patreon version of it. There's also ones in the regular shop. The hand bandage and the bone back, which I have for my hunter snap, and I have the horns too. They're sweet. And then I have the sword for my warrior. This update with the cosmetic stuff was awesome. It's sweet. Every set we've been getting some pretty awesome ones, like the magma shield, the eye face bandage, so that is excellent. Moving along though, there's also, it wasn't the last one, the last update. It was just a small one, but if you go back to trade, the old Hands of Soul, this was an old limited time item, like an old promo. It's now in the Patreon shop, so every month if you do the highest tier you get 50, which is another thing I wish they'd change. Just take 10 off of this. That way you can give kind of people an incentive to spend all their points every month for something cool, and it's still limited time. The 10 just makes it awkward for the 60. But moving on. So like the last update videos, we're not going to go over all the in-game changes. We're just going to go over the most impactful ones. And the first big one being the hotbar change, which is beautiful. I love this new setup. There's a lot you can do with the customization and just the placement. The fact that it shows you your healing items is just like that chef's kiss touch right there. So as an example, I only have 2 pages. I know that Rexio already has all 4 done. He's a lot crazier than me when it comes to this stuff, but he's an awesome tester too. But essentially, you can have like a similar setup like you see here. So let's say I wanted to do, this is basically my main mob setup now. If I want to do Digging Day or just want to do some more powerful buffs, like I'm doing against a boss or higher end mobs, I can just do the Burning Protection real quick and then switch over. And I haven't noticed any bugs. It's pretty seamless. If you do want to change your settings, however, you have to hit O and go to keyboard, because this update will reset you. Essentially, you have to pick your cardinal directions, whether you use the arrows or the AWSD. So go to config. I think it went on delete and end to start off with. So mine was 4 and 5. Just click this and then whatever button you use. But yeah, so that'll kind of throw you off. Your regular spells are like shifted over 1. So essentially, if you kind of remember your setup, just move them over 1 and then add whatever you need to. But yeah, so it essentially gives you 64 choices, which is nuts, and it's so seamless. I love it. It's a long time coming, so that is the first big positive. So right into another sweet change. We've been asking for this for a while, and this is to get old mastery items. These are for the professions. So this is essentially the best gloves in the game in order to get the respective bonus, as you see on the bottom there. This one's really nice, the mole HP. That's going to be important for the helmet that's coming up here, and the fishing luck again for the hat. So these are all awesome. I think the first 5 here are appropriately costed. Now let's just go over that real quick. After you get to max level, which right now is 68, every 3 million you get a mastery star. So essentially you can trade one of these in, and then the bronze skull I think is appropriately costed. Once you're at this level, if you only have one character, you can sell stones. There's a lot of ways you can get bronze skulls. It might seem like a lot, but once you get to this level, this is pretty much par for the course. So that's what these first 5 are. The next 2, the digger's helmet, I think 20k is a little much. Just for extra mole HP, it's 25. But compared to everything else on the list, it's really high. So I'm thinking 10k, maybe 12k, but definitely not 20. I think that's quite the ask. Now, flush shoes, you could make an argument that this is appropriately costed, but my counter argument is that this is too many for this Mastery Shoes ticket, because as you notice, it's not just one, it's 3, which means you have to go back and forge 3 of the tickets. I'll show you that real quick. So you have to forge this 3 times. I think that's overkill, which means you need 9 million, 30 Geta. That's where just the beginning of the grind comes. You need 150 of the Blafon Rock, which is hard to get. The rest of the list isn't bad, but it's these 3 that really make the difference. So I think just 1 ticket would be perfectly reasonable, because you say, oh, well, maybe they can do too many shoes. Well, if you're doing that much grinding for another character, because remember, you have to still be the mastery level in order to wear them. 15 masteries. That means you have to have a cool 45 million before you can even wear them. So just think about that. That's a lot just for upgraded shoes, which they are good. Don't get me wrong, they are definitely good. But if you time it right, you can have mastery 15 and enough for that weapon ticket, or shoes ticket, sorry. By then, it should all line up. But to have 3 tickets is a little much in my opinion. So I love it. But as always, I think the cost can be tuned. So that's my positive part on that. So I think this is a really, really nice step moving forward, and I love the redesign of the jump necklace. That's awesome. I also like the redesign. Whoops, I clicked the wrong thing here. I like the redesign of the promo every month, which you can get once you're Mastery 2. I'll show you that. So 3 levels in a month, which if you're a casual player at this level and you have about 1 or 2 characters, it's not that hard. This is a sweet design. I love that. I love the little scales on there. And there's also some new promo sets. These are usually up for a couple months at a time. So not a big rush if you're a casual player, like I said. That's why I think that 1 ticket, it should be down to 1 ticket. Because as you casually progress in this, it's nice to get some cool stuff. And something that's, you don't have to pay to win, you actually have to grind, but not an impossible grind. Or a grinder's grind. There should be a level right in between where the grinders can get a little bit extra, like the grinders, but the more casual grinders can still have something to aim for, especially when it comes to some of the best in slot items. So this change does make sense. These were way too much in order to get them. And this is kind of counterintuitive anyways. You have to get the bugs in order to get the recipe before you can put them in a bottle. And if you don't know already, these will escape from you if you're not in a bottle. So you have to catch more than what it says, because you have to walk here. If you're lower level, you can't just warp like a level 60 person can and just go right next door. So it's definitely counterintuitive. Everything else in the game, when you can trade items in, it makes sense. But here, since they disappear from your inventory, it doesn't really make sense to me. I think these could easily just be skulls to buy the recipe instead of trading in the acquired bug. And speaking of compromise, instead of getting 12 factory keys, you only need 5 now. And in this room, you can use buffs, so whatever your character buff is, for instance, the Stalker here, the chance to dodge goes up, that's theirs. The Mage has the magic shield, the Knight has the big shield buff for the party members, and then the Hunter has a critical chance, which should do pretty well here. I still think all the spells should be in. I don't really see a reason to not have them. Like I said, it was kind of fun before, but it's just, I don't know, it just feels so awkward to not have your spells. Because there are so many of these, that's the thing. People want to go through quickly. That's just my opinion, again. But since the mount, speed and everything, since you can't use a mount in this, and the speed has been changed from the AGI, if you have Golden Elixir, I would suggest using it in this part, since you can still use buffs. Makes it a lot easier to get it around this instead of walking. Alright, and then finally, the hat room has been changed from 150 down to 100. So that's a nice round, even number. The trap room is probably still okay now. Once you get through it, it's not too bad. Just wish it wasn't so damn dark in these rooms sometimes. And one of my suggestions was maybe have a chance to turn the effect off. Especially for like videos like this, I noticed that even with the right kind of settings on here, this game just appears really dark in certain parts. Like I think Essia doesn't. So now onto the class changes. The Knight got an update. It got help that it really didn't need. But the AoE got changed from the darkness buff here into a critical damage buff instead. So similar to the the regular damage buff here, that's essentially what it'll be. Regular damage will get increased when this fills up all the way, and then critical damage will happen when this one fills up all the way. God, I can't talk today. The crazy thing about these is they're both stackable. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So as you can see up in the top corner, we got both of them going, which is, they're both sweet icons. I love this new one. But this was 327 before, now it's 374. So a 50-something increase or a 40-something increase is insane, especially for this kind of game. Like I said, small numbers always matter a lot. And for this character, I'm on level 40, so it's definitely a lot crazier of a change when you get up to like Erexio or Pazito's level. They noticed a huge increase with their Knight damage. So yeah, not like it didn't need the help, but the other big thing is Endurance is supposed to fill this up faster, but as you can see here, I don't know if this is broken, but mine only does 2, alright? So I have more end here with the equipment. I'll put that on. And it's still 2. And that's with the light as well. So I don't know what's going on with that. The AoEs still count as 2 each also. So what raises it more, I don't know. Also with the darkness, so I have that combo, the 30% on here. It also does not do that increase. So is 2 the cap? That's a really weird cap to have on that. Or is it bugged? Also, the sword, it looks sweet on this new character. I love the Bloodstained Sword. The Halloween event was one of my favorite events, and it's the event that I started with. So having this Bloodstained Sword and having the golden gummy mask on this character is just sweet. Because I also started with somebody was very kind and sold this to me a long time ago. So having this this kind of look is what I wanted, and it just makes it look sweet with that color, the ruby color. I love that so much. And then with the darkness on top of that, awesome. I think that whenever there's a major change to any class, especially when it comes to different builds, like we're about to talk about here, I think anybody in the game should get a free reset for all their points. Because if you have people testing certain builds, they're going to need to be able to do that, and wasting a certain thing on a certain stat and making your character that way feels awful. It really does. So giving somebody a free stat reset, I think would be great. If you put stones in the item, that's kind of your fault. I don't know how you would actually circumvent that. It does suck for sure. But your base stat points, having to buy a reset feels bad. So I think if there's any kind of major change, at least the current players should be able to get an active change. And it's not too hard to see how many active players there are, which is another suggestion that was brought up recently. To be able to see who's all online, like a board something, just to see who's all online. It'd be nice. But anyways, let's get into our favorite part. Now, I wanted to wait on this because I knew there was a huge discussion on Discord about it. Dino puts up with a lot of our complaining and feedback, but a lot of it we try to keep constructive. Erexio. Excuse me, damn. God, I had something in my throat there. Sorry. But anyways, so the MP was cut originally with the intelligence formula. It was cut dramatically. Mine was down to 600 something, 614 as it were on my notes here, but now it is 884. And I was talking about how I think there could be a change or somewhere in the middle to compensate for fighters, because around this level, if you have a lot of good gear, you're probably going to be pushing maybe 800 life on this other side. So Mage maybe had a little bit too much mana investment into the intelligence. So now the more SPR you have, you are going to have more mana, but it's not a sickeningly like 500 to 700 points down. So I think this is a reasonable change. I think it meets in the middle for everybody. There was a lot of good discussion online about it, and the developers came through. So one little known ability, regeneration. Health and mana regeneration were both removed as bonuses. So that'll be the end of the video for me. I didn't talk about update 211. There wasn't a whole lot that I really wanted to go over. The EXP bonus for digging, it kind of needed to happen because way back in the day, it was max 3 out of 3, and you'd get like +4, I think. It was quite high. If you go in the ranking, digging is by far the most popular thing, and as you can see, everybody was in the high 50s here, versus the other ones where there's a big dramatic gap still. So it kind of needed to be done. But it just sucks for everybody now that wants to get higher in digging, because you kind of have to pick between EXP and loot upgrade, since there is such a high thing in digging. So maybe this can be knocked back down to 10 or something and get a better modification. I don't know. There's so much digging in this game. I mean, how do you think he got the ads? Do you think he was just sitting around doing nothing? He's tilling and digging, man. That's how he got those.